Welcome to Learn with Syed. I'm Syed Mahmood. Today I'm talking about learning English, or rather improving your English. Now, because this is a live video, so you can understand that this video is not going to be like one of those recorded and edited videos where everything is perfect, or sort of perfect. But a live video, by the nature of it, would be a little bit different in the sense that I'll say a few things, maybe backtrack a little bit, and then, think about something at times. So that's the nature of live videos. Anyway, so that's the way it is. So what I'm going to do is talk about, as I said, learning English. Now, think about one thing. You already speak one or more languages. Say your native tongue, whatever that is. You might speak Bangla, maybe not English, but maybe say Hindi, Urdu, or Nepali, Vietnamese, or maybe Uzbek, or any other language. Now, think of how you learned that language. Did you learn the rules of the language, i.e. the grammar first, or did you start speaking without the grammar? Obviously, while you were growing up, you started speaking without the knowledge of the grammar. Because when you learned to speak, you were a little kid and you learned your language from whatever your parents or your elder brothers or sisters or other relatives, they spoke around you, and you learned from that. You picked up one word and you started using that one word without worrying about how it should be used or whatever the grammar rules are. You were not bothered with it. Am I still live? I think there was a connection problem. Yeah, but I'm still live. Yeah, okay. Because it just said reconnecting, so maybe there was a bit of a problem with the connection. Anyway, so what I was saying is that you have these various different rules of grammar which are actually there to try in an attempt to define the language. But the language is not based on those grammars, in the sense that the language was not created based on those grammars. For example, obviously there are other languages like the constructed languages. Those are constructed by the linguists. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the natural languages that you see around you every day. English, Hindi, Urdu, Uzbek, or any other language that you speak. Those languages are spoken by the people, even those who do not know how to read or write. That is because they do not have to know the rule of the grammar to know how to speak the language. Because you have to think about what came first. Did the language come first or the grammar rules come first? Actually, the language came first. People started speaking, and then gradually grammar is actually just an attempt to codify things, to find patterns in what people say. So what comes first is the language, not the grammar. So as a child, when you know a few words without any grammatical pattern or anything, you start using them. For example, if you know the word go and you want to go somewhere, you say I go. Even if you want to say you went, you'll still say I go, because you don't know that in past tense go should be went. You don't know that, so you just express yourself by saying I go, even though you are talking about you went, or I want to go. You still say I go, and your parents understand that this little child is trying to say that the child wants to go. So that's how you start speaking, and that applies to any language really. If you want to speak a language, you need to start speaking. And it would be a misunderstanding of the situation if you think that you need to know a language really well, or you should not be making mistakes when you speak. That is not the right understanding. What you need to do is you need to start speaking. If you can understand what I'm saying right now, that means clearly you understand enough English to start speaking. You just should start speaking. And obviously language learning is a gradual process, and some people like to compare it with going swimming in the sea. For example, near the shore where the waves, the tide is coming and breaking, it's a bit more turbulent there. It's sort of pushing you back towards the shore. But once you go past that initial stage, you are into the deeper waters and it becomes calm. It becomes easier to swim. So, unless obviously there's a storm or something going on. But anyway, so the analogy basically is trying to portray that if you can get through the initial stage where you have this difficult conversations, these awkward and strenuous conversations with somebody who is better than you in that language, if there is any secret to learning a language, that is it. You have to go through these awkward conversations. So this brings me to the next point. You have to find somebody who you can speak English with. I can see a comment from Joseph Graham who says, how can I describe Sylhet city? Well, that's a different topic altogether, and we'll have to talk about it some other time. But obviously, as I was saying, you have to find somebody to speak English with. Now, with internet and everything, it has become much easier. You can speak to somebody online. You can go to the italki website. You can search on Google italki, that is I-T-A-L-K-I. Go to the italki website. You can find speaking partners there, and you can also find native speakers who would like to teach you English and things like that. And you can also use Facebook groups to find somebody who you can speak to. Or you can, maybe I'm actually thinking about opening up a group on Facebook or something, or a forum on a website where people can converse with each other. But that's something to be thought about, a bit more, and hope to see if we can implement that. But anyway, so you find somebody who is better than you at that language, in this case English, and you then converse with them regularly. Which brings me to my next point, but before that let me just make myself a little bit of tea, which is green tea I spoke to you about the other day. So the next point is, when you start speaking to somebody, especially when somebody is able to speak the same language as you, there is a common trap that people fall into. Now listen to me carefully, because this is very important. Mr. Nazmul Haq says, I like so much your teaching style. Thank you very much for your kind words. Joseph Graham says, which website did you recommend? I recommended the italki website. You can search on Google italki, I-T-A-L-K-I, italki. You can search for that, italki. So you can go to the italki website and try to find people who would speak to you. Anyway, so now, as I was saying, when you are trying to practice English with somebody else who speaks the same language as you, other than English, the same native tongue they have with you, the native tongue that you have is the same as them. Now, a common trap that people fall into is that they mix the languages up. What I mean by that is that they say a few things in English, and then they, whenever they're stuck with it, they, replace that with their own native tongue. So they would say a few sentences in their native tongue whenever they get stuck in English. What that does is that makes it very difficult to improve, because what you're then saying in English is only the things that you're comfortable with. You start with hi, hello, and you say the things that you're comfortable with. Or when you are especially trying to describe a situation, what happens in that case is that you stop speaking that language, or even within a sentence, you replace a few words with your own language. What you're doing is that you are avoiding the difficult areas. So you are not going out of your comfort zone. So if you understand what I'm saying, it is really important for you to stick to English when you are trying to practice. George is saying, thank you so much for teaching classes, it's very useful. Thank you very much for your nice and kind words. Now, when you speak English, as I was saying, for example, if two people have the common native tongue and they're trying to speak English together, they should assign a certain portion of time, for example, half an hour or an hour, and during that time they should really focus on English only and make a strict rule that they're not going to speak the other language for that period of time. It is really important, because then you are forced to speak English even in these situations, or speaking about things which you are not comfortable with. And that is how you learn a language. I remember when I was a child, my father helped me learn English in some cases. Obviously not all the time, but in some cases when I went up to him and I tried to say something, and he asked me to say it in English. And I obviously, could say only a few things and not the other words. So, but he would not respond to me unless I said it in English. What that did is that forced me to say that in English, or try to think of something, find a way to express myself in English. And that is very important. Let me give you another example. When there is a person who is maybe not a very well educated person, or who is not very good at learning languages, when they come over to an English speaking nation, how is it that they start speaking English after not very long? After about a year or so, you meet them, you see that they're very good at, not very good, but say a reasonable level of English. They already know. How does that happen? It happens because they're forced to speak English. When you're forced to speak a language, what it does is that it makes you say things or express things that you were previously not sure how to say. And obviously, when you converse with somebody who is at least at your level or a little bit better than you in English, you automatically pick up some things from them. For example, as I gave the example before, if you used to say, I'm eating dinner, and you see few times that the other person who is a native speaker or better than you in English, they're saying having dinner. So you stop saying eating dinner and you start speaking like them. You start saying having dinner. So without realizing, again, my mobile just said poor connection, so I hope you didn't miss anything. Can you hear me now? So that's that. Mr. Joseph Graham again said, I got a problem with reading class like yes, no, not true, false, not given. Obviously that is, as you can understand, that is IELTS, and I'm talking about learning English, not IELTS in this particular video, so maybe on another day. Or if you send me a personal message on Facebook, I'll try to respond and tell you. Or if it's something that I can make a video about, or maybe I have already made a video about that, you just have to check on my channel. So, as I was saying, speaking English. Now, is it all about just speaking to somebody and finding a speaking partner and things like that? Not necessarily. There are other things you can do and you should do. First of all is watch movies, documentaries, and news. For example, you can go to Al Jazeera website, that is ALJAZEERA, Al Jazeera. You can go to Al Jazeera website, click on videos, and then click watch live, and you can watch the live news. You can watch BBC or CNN on TV, or you can listen to radios, and with the facilities of internet, it has now become much easier to do things. And you can now watch TV live on internet, you can listen to radio on the internet, and so many other options are available at the moment because of internet. So you do all of that, and while you're watching movies from DVDs and things like that, I definitely recommend to watch it without the subtitles. That actually forces you to try to understand what is being said rather than just reading it. If you have, obviously this is something that some people can find beneficial the other way around. Some people might feel that it's easier for them to or beneficial for them to watch the movies with the subtitles. If they do that, in that case I'd suggest that watch it with subtitle once and then watch it again without the subtitle. Now you know what the movie is about and you're watching it without the subtitle. That should help you. But obviously you cannot stick to just movies. You should watch documentaries as well. You should watch news, because obviously, as you can understand, different types of programs like news and documentaries and TV series and these things, they would help you to gain different types of phrases and vocabularies. All these different things are used. So hopefully those things would help you. And other than that, obviously you have to do some studying as well. And now, what do you study? I remember there was a guy who used to sit down with the dictionary and try to memorize word. That is a bad idea, because it makes it not only just difficult to remember because you don't have any context, it also doesn't help you in the sense that you don't know how to use it, because you're just remembering a difficult long word and you know the meaning of it, but you don't know how to use it, what context it should be used. Because you see, there are words that have many synonyms, but they're used a little bit differently, not necessarily exactly the same way. For example, glorious, illustrious, and all these words are the same, but not necessarily used exactly in the same way. So there are words, many synonyms of praise, for example. Now, which one is used exactly in what context or how it is used? You need to know these things from the context. So it is very important to read with the context. So it is important to read books from where you can pick up the words, and also if you come across a word which you don't understand or you have heard it somewhere, you look it up, you look up the meaning. It is extremely important, it is of paramount importance for you to look up the example of it. So you can just search on Google, for example, if you don't know the meaning of the word congratulate, which I'm sure you do, but it's just an example. So what you do is search on Google congratulation in a sentence, or congratulation example, or something like that, or whatever the word is. So you search it within a sentence. So search for it within a sentence, and that way you have it in a context. So look at more than one sentence with that word, and you know better how to use it. And that would not only make it for you to easier to use it, but rather it also makes it easier to remember, because now you have a context. So that way it does help. And obviously, as I said in my previous video as well, various people have different level of capability to do things. Just like anything else, if you start learning how to drive, for example, somebody can learn driving in 5 sessions, somebody needs 20. So as Mr. Hiralal is commenting here that he's practicing, but he's finding it difficult to build up his confidence. Only thing I can say is that some people need a little longer than others. It doesn't mean that you can't do it. It's just that you have to continue to try, and it is for some people it just takes a little longer. And maybe you're not trying properly, or maybe you don't have the proper settings. You have not surrounded yourself with that language properly. So depending on the amount of time you're spending every day to learn the language, or every week, number of hours you're spending to learn that language, based on a lot of different things, it can take longer for some people. Now, one thing I'd like to say is that you do not need to get hung up on trying to sound like a native speaker. Now, I don't sound like a native speaker because I'm not. I didn't speak English until regularly until I was 26 when I came over to England, and I've been here for 5 years now. But 1 year after coming here, I took IELTS to renew my visa here when I came, and I scored 8.5 in IELTS, which shows really that obviously it helped to be here, but before I came to England, I had already scored 7.5 and 8 in IELTS. So being in Bangladesh, I could learn English. If I can, why can't you? I'm sure you can. You just need the right settings and attempt to do it and spend some time with it. Of course, you can do it. But what I was trying to say basically is that I don't sound like a native speaker. I'm not a native speaker, so I don't sound like one. But the point I'm trying to get at is that there are 380 million native speakers in the world, like Americans, English people, Australians, New Zealand, and all that. Including all of that is just 380 million. On the other hand, there are more than 1 billion people who speak English as their second or third languages. What does that tell you? I made my tea and I forgot to drink it, so I'm just gonna have a sip. Still okay. Still warm. For some reason, I've seen that this is green tea, so it's more liquidy. So the thinner the liquid is, the longer it stays hot for some reason. Anyway, So what I'm saying is that I just see a comment from Natmul Haq saying, I've seen lots of videos from you. I was practice with the foreign people. After see the video, I'm confident about 5.5, but I'd like to improve my English skills. Yes, I'm definitely hopeful that you can do that, and I'm glad that you like my videos. Now, obviously, as I was saying, that there are more than 1 billion people who are not native speakers, and this particular video is about English, not just IELTS. So, as somebody who is learning English, you don't just have to speak to native speakers in your life. You need to speak to all of these other people from various different countries for business and all these other reasons, all these different people from various countries who speak English as their second or third languages. So they don't necessarily sound like native speakers. So it is more important to be able to express yourself correctly and speak English in a reasonably good manner, so that people can understand you and you can understand them. You don't necessarily have to sound like a native speaker. So don't get hung up on that. Keep moving, start speaking English, read newspapers, read books, and read books some of topics that interest you. Somebody might be interested in history, some others might want to read storybooks, and whatever interests you, start reading them. And newspapers, as I said, and watch news, documentaries and movies, and definitely try to find somebody who you regularly speak English with. That should help you. If you have any questions, this video is going to end now, so you can send me messages on Facebook, or you can follow me on YouTube, subscribe to my channel. I hope you have the link to my YouTube channel already. So obviously follow that, leave me comments and ask me questions if you have any questions. I'll try to help you. Hopefully all the best. Learning English is not rocket science, it's just a language. If I can learn it, you can learn it. There are millions of people who have done it. It's nothing difficult. You can definitely do it. All the best. Take care. Bye-bye.